Oh, look, Sam, I see your face.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Welcome to the Big Idea training. We're happy to have you guys here today. The topic for our session today is manifestation determination review meetings, commonly referred to as MDRs. You'll hear me refer to it as MDRs throughout the training, but the verbiage is manifestation determination review. Please take a minute to familiarize yourself with the chat box. If you have any questions throughout the session, please feel free to type them in the chat box and we'll make sure to answer everything the best we can. Let's go ahead and get started. So here is our agenda for today. During this session, we will focus on explaining all aspects of manifestation determination reviews. That's the reason I will say MDR a few times. It's a mouthful. We will also discuss who is entitled to a manifestation determination meeting and who should be invited. Finally, we will walk you through what happens before, during, and after the meeting. Throughout these topics, there will be information regarding what a parent's role is in this process. We'll answer any questions you may have about the process. So receiving a call from the school for a manifestation determination review meeting can feel overwhelming. Discipline procedures and the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, require school systems to conduct what is known as a manifestation determination review meeting. In certain situations, these meetings are held following a violation of the Student Code of Conduct. The purpose of the meeting is to determine whether or not the child's behavior that led to the disciplinary infraction is linked to his or her disability. In these meetings, the IEP team will join together to review all relevant information and discuss the relationship between the child's disability and the behavior. Throughout this presentation, we will discuss how you can prepare and what you can expect as the parent or guardian so you feel best equipped if you ever do receive this call. So IDEA states that a manifestation determination meeting is required when a child with a disability that receives services and supports through an IEP or an Individualized Education Plan violates the Student Code of Conduct, resulting in a removal from the setting for 10 days during the course of a school year. These 10 days can be consecutive or cumulative. In a manifestation determination review meeting, the IEP team will go through the manifestation determination process to consider whether the behavior was a direct result or if it was directly correlated to the child's disability. During the MDR, the participants carefully consider all relevant information to the student, including the student's IEP, course grades, progress reports, anecdotal notes, the list goes on, as well as information received by you, the parents. This is not an exhaustive list, and there may be other relevant data to consider based on the student and the situation. The results of these discussions have an effect on the way that the student is disciplined, and we'll talk about that a little bit more on the next few slides. It is important to note that IDEA states that MDR meetings must be conducted within 10 days of the student reaching their 10th day of out-of-school suspension. This is because once a student has been removed from their LRE, or their least restrictive environment, for 10 days, it is considered a change of placement. So there is more than one scenario that can lead to the initiation of an MDR meeting. These can include what you see on the slides. So the first situation, when a student who is eligible under IDEA has committed a level 4 offense per the Student Code of Conduct, or when a student who is eligible under IDEA has a pattern of behavior and has accumulated up to 10 days of removal. And removal here is defined as an out-of-school suspension. So who is entitled to an MDR meeting? This would be students who have already been determined eligible for ESE and have an IEP to address their disability. Additionally, students who have been identified as having a disability that limits one or more major life activities through Section 504 are entitled to an MDR meeting. Lastly, we consider students who have not been formally determined eligible for either Section 504 or ESE, but the team has knowledge of a suspected disability. IDEA says that this knowledge can come in 3 different ways. The parents have stated in writing to the school that they believe their child requires special education or has a disability. The second being parents have requested an evaluation. Or the third being that the school staff have expressed concerns that they suspect the student may have a disability. Students with current open consents for evaluations would be entitled to an MDR meeting as well. It is very important that the necessary individuals are in attendance at a manifestation determination meeting. Parents should be notified in accordance with IDEA with a meeting notice. This meeting notice will include the following information: the proposed date and time for the meeting, the purpose of the meeting, and the personnel that will be invited by the district to participate in the meeting. According to IDEA, at a minimum, the meeting should include the parent, a general education teacher, the ESE teacher, and local representative agency or LEA. The role of the LEA in Orange County is often filled by the staffing specialist. Additional invited personnel outside of the required members could include persons knowledgeable about the student or persons involved in the evaluation process or can interpret the evaluation data. This is to ensure that the personnel at the meeting are a knowledgeable group that are able to determine whether the behavior in question was caused by or had a substantial relationship to the student's disability. Examples of these individuals include, as you can see on the slide, but are not limited to, the school psychologist, behavior specialist, mental health counselor, social worker, guidance counselor, the list goes on. As a parent or guardian, you are welcome and encouraged to bring anyone that you feel would be a contributing member of the team. So now that we've explained what a manifestation is, when they are required, who should be invited, and their purpose, let's talk about what happens before, during, and after the meeting. This will include recommendations and clarifications for parents to consider. So once a student has been suspended or removed from school for 10 days, the school will contact the parent to schedule a meeting. If a student receives a level 4 referral, the district will often issue 10 days of suspension, which could also lead to a manifestation determination meeting. As the parent, we recommend that you gather and review relevant documents, evaluations, letter from your child's healthcare providers, previous IEPs, emails from teachers, etc., in preparation for the meeting. Parents are an important member of the MDR team, and the information they share is vital to the process. Parents should always consider completing and bringing written input and any questions to be considered and answered at the meeting. Determine whether there is anyone you would like to invite to the meeting who has knowledge of your child, their disability, and their needs. Also keep in mind, if your primary language is not English, let the school know ahead of time so that arrangements for an interpreter can be made. Before the team can determine if the behavior is a manifestation of a student's disability, all available data needs to be reviewed. This should include, but is not limited to, the current IEP, the information in the student's cumulative folder, any completed evaluations, the behavior intervention plan if the student already has one, discipline history, medical diagnoses, parent and teacher input. During the meeting, 2 important questions are answered to guide the process. The first question examines the student's disability. Was the behavior in question caused by, or did it have a direct and substantial relationship to the student's disability? This includes programs that the student has been determined eligible for on the IEP, as well as any medical diagnoses the school has on record. The team should also consider the behavior and discipline history of the student to identify if there is a pattern of those behaviors. The second question regarding failure to implement the IEP is twofold. The first question is whether the programs and services described in the IEP were provided as written. The second part of the discussion is whether the failure to develop an appropriate IEP is directly related to the conduct in question. It is crucial that the team relies on the data and facts surrounding the case. Decisions should be reached during the MDR and achieved through consensus rather than voting. If the team cannot reach a consensus, then the assigned person in the role of the LEA will make the final determination. If the behavior is a manifestation of the disability decided by the team, one or more of the following must occur. A functional behavior assessment is reviewed, or the team will be considering obtaining consent to complete one if one hasn't been completed already. An amendment of the behavior intervention plan, if there's one in place, to consider additional supports and observable behaviors. Amendment of the IEP to add additional services and accommodations, and consider the need for a reevaluation. It is important to note that IDEA states that a student can still be removed from his or her current placement if the behavior in question involves serious bodily injury, weapons, and/or certain offenses involving drugs. If the answer to both questions that we reviewed a few slides ago is no, answer to both questions is no, it is determined that the behavior in question is not a manifestation of the student's disability, and the district may then apply the same disciplinary procedures to children with disabilities in the same manner and for the same duration as the procedures that would be applied to children without disabilities. This could include removal to an interim alternative education setting for a period of time, or being required to complete a course related to the discipline offense outside of school hours. In addition, if changes are necessary to reduce the likelihood of the behavior repeating, the team should consider them and amend the IEP to reflect this. No matter the outcome of the manifestation determination, school teams must ensure the IEP is continued to be implemented with fidelity in whichever setting the student is assigned. If a parent is in disagreement with the manifestation determination, we recommend the parent request in writing a district review. This process allows the team to reconvene with district staff to ensure all relevant data is reviewed and the manifestation determination process was conducted with fidelity. If the parent does not wish to engage in a district review of the manifestation, they can request a hearing. The request should include a list of instances that the school did not follow the required process for an MDR, any documents in the school that the school did not consider, and the reason why the parents feel the MDR decision is wrong. More information on this process can be found in the procedural safeguards that would be provided at the manifestation determination meeting. If you ever need another copy of your procedural safeguards, you can always request one from your school staffing specialist, and they are also located on the OCPS website. Regardless of whether the behavior is determined to be a manifestation or not, the team should consider if the student requires additional supports and services. This could include conducting a functional behavior assessment, making adjustments to a student's current behavior intervention plan, amending the IEP to add or increase services, and/or obtaining consent to conduct a reevaluation. So just to recap the steps, when participating in a manifestation meeting, the team will start with a review of all available data. Next, the team will answer those 2 essential questions, which will determine if the behavior is a manifestation of the student's disability. Lastly, the team should determine next steps on how to best support the student's needs moving forward. This could include amending the IEP to add additional services, supports, and/or accommodations. It could also include obtaining consent to conduct a reevaluation. So we covered a lot of information today regarding the MDR meeting process. Are there any questions? Just let us know in the chat if you have any questions. These are the contact information. If you ever have, by school level, should you ever have any concerns or questions in the future, parents can utilize these email addresses to request a district review of a manifestation determination review meeting like we discussed a few slides ago. Please make sure to please make sure to email the address that applies for your student's grade level. So just whatever grade level your student is in, even if they're at a K-8 school, if they're in 7th grade, you'll email the middle school email address and so forth. If you do have any questions, feel free to add them in the chat. We will be on here. I'm going to leave the email addresses up so that you have that information as well. But thank you so much for joining our manifestation determination review session today, and let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah.